Ready! Hit!
Welcome, everybody, back to The Buzz. We got high school football season 2022 is just around the corner. We have high school scrimmages with referees and game-like situations this Friday. Let's jump right in. We're going to just preview all this stuff. And here's my editor and my friend, Jim Patrick. Hey, Jim, first thing I noticed, we get clear skies, no smoky skies, and that's been unusual. So participation numbers are up. Helmets are down because there's not enough helmets to go around for all the freshmen, JV, and varsity. That's a good thing. They're going to figure that out. Football's just around the corner. We've been doing previews and top teams and rankings. We'll have player lists, but we are here. It's here before we know it.
It's optimism season, Joe. And I feel like you jinxed it with the weather. You know, the weather's been perfect. The clouds, there's no clouds. There's no smoke. I'm just waiting for a giant earthquake now. But yes, everybody's excited right now. We see it online. We see it in our mentions. We see it in our data in general. People are fired up, Joe, and I'm fired up. Let's go.
I'm fired up. This is a fun time of year, and there's so many. We've got so many names to go over and teams. And why don't we take a look at some of our best teams? We've been doing rankings in inverse order, 25 towards number one as the season opener starts a week from this Friday. And so some of the same teams that we've seen over the years, Jim, and we could just bounce across them. Here's Folsom again. Why are the Bulldogs so good? Well, they're just loaded. And the root of it is the youth feeder program. You did an interesting story not too long ago about transfers. It is a destination school. Kids do go over there to play football like they do in other schools. So Folsom is the top dog again. Rico Flores, national recruit receiver, signed or was given a verbal pledge to Notre Dame. Walker Lyons has given a verbal pledge to Stanford. They could sign their letters of intent in the winter. So when you start with those two kids, you've got some players for Coach Paul Doherty and looking to get back to a state championship.
Yeah, Joe, I know I annoyed some coaches by writing about transfers, but it is the landscape. This is the landscape. Kids are transferring to play sports, and I don't think that's news, and I didn't intend that to be news, but kids are transferring to play sports, and that's part of our scene. And that when a high-profile kid from Rosemont leaves the school and he goes to play for Elk Grove, I'm going to write about that because I think that's interesting, and it's good for Elk Grove, and it's not great for Rosemont, but it's part of the game and the way it's played and the way people talk about it. So I'm more fired up to talk. And to be honest, I'm more fired up to tell you why I think Jesuit should be maybe number 2 in our rankings because they gave Folsom a hell of a game in the playoffs last year, didn't they? Wasn't it?
They sure did. No, that's a good point. We're gonna get to Jesuit in a second. So it's Wayshawn Parker who played it. Was an all-metro player for Rosemont. They went to the section championship, and he's going to Elk Grove, which is his home school. His older brother, Wadis Parker, was an all-metro star there. But you're right. It does hurt the previous school, boost the new school, and you have to sit out some 30 days per CIF transfer policy. So I always wonder, is it worth it? But back to Jesuit. Good call on Jesuit. Marlon Blanton, a terrific coach, gave Jesuit every ounce in that playoff game last season, Division I playoffs. A lot of people thought that Jesuit had that game. Folsom won a section championship, avenged a loss to Rockland. And it's going to be interesting with Jesuit. And I didn't have Jesuit ranked higher, having number 6, because they lost so many guys to graduation. And I've had Jesuit number 2 a bunch of years, and they would play Jesuit in an opener, and it was lopsided. They're not playing this year, those two teams. There's no non-league opening game, so we'll see how that sizes up. And maybe our first game that we cover of Jesuit will be the Holy Bowl sometime in this September. Jesuit and Christian Brothers. And Christian Brothers is another team of note. You know about Christian Brothers? And they have this remarkable receiver, only a sophomore, a national recruit named Philip Bell. Kid, I hope you stay at Christian Brothers. You don't need to go to a prep school. You don't need to go to another school. You're already on the radar, so stay put.
Right. He's doing just fine. He's got offers from Georgia, if I remember correctly. And Mr. Chris Biederman, our esteemed colleague, Chris Biederman, will be writing more about Phil Bell, hopefully this week, catching up with them and writing about him. I would say that Christian Brothers is one of those teams, Joe. I love their stadium, and they're fun to watch. They're not necessarily going to win every game, but they lost.
They will compete in every game.
No, they chuck the ball around, and it's fun to watch. You never know what you're going to see at a Christian Brothers game.
I agree. And Larry Morla is a coach. He's an alum there, and they have heavy hearts this season, as Chris Biederman has already written about in a preview capsule of all of our ranked teams, and we're all kind of divvying that up. And Spencer Webb was a terrific tight end, national recruit for Christian Brothers. Played up on scholarship, was a rising star there for the Ducks. Died earlier this summer from a cliff diving accident. Went to a memorial there. So this schools aren't supposed to have memorials for kids who are 22 years old, and so he is in their hearts. He was a big time player there who always came back to the school to talk to players about high hopes and being a good student, and he was a perfect example. Spencer Webb was, Jim, of being a better student when he was about to be derailed. And you have to do it yourself, and there's always
I had people texting me about Spencer. Neighbors of mine were texting me about Spencer Webb. People that know what I do for work, but they don't talk about my work with me. They're texting me to talk about Spencer Webb. You drive down Highway 99 and there were banners up honoring Spencer Webb at the interchange near the high school. Clearly I didn't understand the depth of community love for this young man prior to him passing away. So yeah, it's definitely going to be something. I don't know that it's in the background is the right word. Maybe it's in the foreground, Joe. Maybe it's just, they're literally going to wear it on their helmets. This is part of who they're going to be this year. And, teams tends to put, I don't know if it's fire in the heart. I think it tends to focus teams, that was tragedies like this tends to sort of bring teams together. They're definitely it puts Christian Brothers on my radar even more so than they were to watch, and they're in a tough division, Joe. If you end up going on to the playoffs in Division III, you end up with Manteca, who roared through the section last year. You end up with Sacramento. Sacramento High School's loaded this year. It's going to be Division III to me might be the most interesting division. Division II, Division III are probably the two most interesting divisions for me in terms of just the parity level that's out there, right? And then talk about anybody could win Division II, right, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. In Division II, you have schools like Elk Grove, Vacaville. It's just really impressive. And whoever wins the Delta League, like Jesuit did last year, you go into Division I. Sheldon is a contender in Division I and in the Delta League. Coach Chris Nixon has his another son, and Scott Nixon, who's 13 touchdown catches, plays defense, has sacks. So Josiah Machado is an all-metro returning quarterback for Sheldon. So there's a contender. Elk Grove with maybe the area's best lineman, and Simi Pale, who's a verbal commit to Stanford, which tells you what kind of student he is. Just an impressive program there. And
plus that linebacker from Rosemont that came over.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And Rockland is coming off a 12-1 season, and the one loss was to Folsom in a section championship after some 6 weeks after Rockland had rolled Folsom. And so Rockland has a lot to prove again this season. Joey Roberts is back at quarterback. Jason Adams has another good defense there. He's the head coach. Monterey Trail, maybe have them ranked too high at number 3, Jim, but maybe some of that's based on reputation. But they do have Ollie Collier back, a 1,500-yard rusher. And Monterey Trail and TJ Ewing, they live to run the ball, the veer, run heavy deal, and they open against Folsom. So we got some good games, good teams. Granite Bay with Coach Joe Catalico's got some good linemen, new quarterback who was a backup last year, and Vacaville, Capital Christian. You're talking about the Capital Athletic League with Christian Brothers. So you talk about a great race. Capital Christian won the league last year, the Cal. Is certainly a contender to win its 10th consecutive league championship, not all on the Cal. Sac High, Vista Del Lago, also in that league. So it's a terrific collection. And you're right. It's if we concede, if that's the right word, that Division I is Folsom and everybody else, and St. Mary's down in Stockton, Division II and Division III are very intense. And it's good. It's not just the upper divisions around here in this section.
I am personally. Well, first of all, I want to tease you about ranking on reputation, because there is a high school that you ranked 8th, I believe, last year to start the season, and they won one football game. But moving on,
was that Grant?
It was Grant High School.
And actually, Grant didn't win a football game last season.
My God.
And here, it's funny because, so I watched spring football, and Grant won 2 games in spring, went 2-0, and had a late rally to beat Capital Christian, and had a goal line stand to stop Franklin of Elk Grove, and they all came back. And I said, I think we'll rank them. And then they didn't win a game. And so this season, earlier this month when we unveiled, or last month in July when we unveiled our top 25, it was the first time since 1991 that Grant was not preseason ranked.
That's
win again.
And by the way, what do we know? Maybe
though.
Grant wins out and goes 10-0 in the regular season, and they end the year ranked number 1 or 2. Anything could happen.
Well, and they have a national recruit lineman in Alani Noah, and so the players are still there. Been realigned back to the Metro League, which is going to help Grant. 10 years ago, they were in the Metro League and annihilated everybody. Then got realigned to the Sierra Foothill League with Folsom, Rockland, Oak Ridge, Granite Bay, Whitney, and it just was not the right fit. Going in, it was the right fit, but it didn't work, and they wanted to get out. And so now in the Metro League with Monterey Trail, River City, McClatchy, Burbank, it's going to be much more competitive. Probably be Monterey Trail and Grant for the league championship right there.
All right, Joe. So I'm gonna wrap up here with a question for you, and I'm gonna answer my own question first. Most interesting storyline, most interesting team, most interesting player, and for me, it's Sacramento High School. I'm interested because they've got a quarterback, a short kid after my own heart, Naaman Branyan, who, if he's not an All-Metro candidate, he's got to be an All-Metro candidate this year. He's going to throw for a bunch of yards. He's got a bunch of receivers. He's got Lamar Radcliffe in the backfield running the ball. I believe Lamar ran for 2,000 yards last year, some ridiculous number. He's a horse of a human being. He's 6'2", 6'3",
and a junior, right?
Power running back, junior. Sacramento High School, to me, they've got the defense, they've got the offense. The line is a bit of a question, but really with guys like that, with skill position guys like Sacramento has, all the line has to do is be competent. Good would be amazing for Sacramento High School. But, the one thing, they lost their head coach, Justin Reber, who's turned the program around. He's turned many programs around. He's over at Inderkim as the athletic director, not football coach this year. And to me, Sacramento High School is at an inflection point where they are either going to become a city powerhouse for years to come, or they're going to slide. And I'm rooting for the powerhouse because I think it's more interesting and good for a city school to have that. But to me, that's the most interesting. Joe, what do you think is the most interesting aspect of this year?
That's a good call. And Kimby Drayton is the assistant coach at Sac High. He's now the head coach. He's an alum there. In Sac High, they're easy to root for. We did a story last year with a drone. We love the drone. Long live the drone. Where they have it's the oldest school in Sacramento. And it's got the worst facilities, and there's no funding, and a terrible field, and gopher holes, and they just, these kids keep coming out there. So they are a compelling story. I'm going to go with two traditional powers in curiosity this year. Oak Ridge went 3-7 last year. First time we missed the playoffs in a long time. Casey Taylor was in his first year. He's an alumni coach, championship coach at Del Oro and Capital Christian. He really likes how much they've improved. So how will they be right back in the playoff mix? Probably. All starts in the weight room, and they've got some guys. They've got Jake Hall on defense, among others, and Dassman, who's a weightlifting guru. We're going to show you some video of him. And the other one is Elk Grove. Lost a lot of guys. Love to run the ball with Coach John Heffernan. Lost the leading running back and the quarterback, but they got linemen, for days. So teams like that, Jim, they never fade off. They never seem to fade off. Also kind of curious about Kennedy. It's been a couple of years since they lost their beloved team captain to who died after a spring game. So that'll be good. But okay, I'm going to throw some names at you, and you go back and forth at some names. Here's another. Karan Borders is a 2,000-yard rusher from Antelope. They went 10-0 last year, and then went 10-1 when they lost in the playoffs. And another guy that Jack Carner, a pioneer in Woodland, does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, Jack Carner's maybe he's not the best running back I saw last year, but he's the most versatile. He's got power, he's got elusiveness, he's got speed. And to me, Karan Borders, I haven't seen Karan play, but it just hearing the descriptions of what he does reminds me of a certain Sacramento State running back who racked up 2,000 some yards in his senior year and was our All-Metro player. So, there's a lot lot of guys out there that I think
Scattaboo.
Yes, Cameron Scattaboo. Is it Scattaboo? Is that right?
Scattaboo. What it's whatever we say. And I ran into him yesterday at Sac State practice, and to derail your thought, and he usually has this big thick beard. And I said, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "Girlfriend." It says trim it or no girlfriend. So
nothing but trouble.
You know,
all right, so
yeah.
moving on before I get in trouble with my wife. Let's other players of note, Joe. I mean, they're all over the place. We've got an MVP poll up. I think to me, the Sheldon team is really interesting with their quarterback who's back. He's one of the top throwing quarterbacks to return in this area. He threw for a bunch of touchdowns. He threw for, I want to say, around 2,000 yards last year.
Correct.
And there's nobody that's returning that did better last year. So what's his name, Joe? You mentioned
Josiah Machado, and he's a good student, a good scholar, and his brother Jaden Machado was an all-metro quarterback at Elk Grove under Coach Nixon, and now they're doing it again here. But you're right, they're prolific. And this MVP poll that we have, if you're a fan or a player or an alum, get on sacbee.com and vote. We've got runners and receivers and blockers and stoppers, and because we appreciate the diversity we have around here. You know, it's easy to say quarterbacks and receivers and running backs, but some of the most intriguing guys are the linemen.
And one last one for you, Joe. Cody Smith from Liberty Ranch. I'm not just saying this because he pings back and forth with me on Twitter, although that is fun. Cody's 6'7", 240 pound, at least a regional recruit, if not a national recruit. He's a 2-star kid, but he's caught one pass, Joe, for 7 yards or 6 yards. Biederman wrote that story about him. And to me, if I'm checking the box score Saturday morning, it's to see what did Cody Smith do last night, because I think he could blow up and have a huge year and put himself on the radar of some big time coaches, or maybe he doesn't have it or he gets injured. So I
like his chances, Jim. But I think I love a guy who tweets out his transcripts, and his transcripts are much better than yours and mine. Certainly. And he's a great blocker. And he had an 1,800-yard rusher last year who's back, and Arthur Drager, and they play for Liberty Ranch of Galt. And no, we got some good stuff, and we could talk all day long. And so check us out on sacbee.com. We're worth a follow. We got preview capsules on all these teams and more stuff coming. And Jim, it's good to catch up. And football's, let's just keep this karma and these smoky skies clear, and let's get these games going and roar on through.
Yeah, amen. Friday Night Lights, T-minus 11 days away. Oh. 10 days away. 10 days away.
Looking forward
to it. We got to pick some games to cover. All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you.